Chapter 749. Will I be able to eat chicken drumsticks every day if I become your bride? Tanghua held the drumstick in one hand and asked with an expectant gaze, as if she had never eaten a drumstick in her life. The zombie king couldn't help but smile. Yes, you can eat as much as you want to be my bride. Not only will there be drumsticks, there will also be all kinds of delicacies. You can eat whatever you want. He didn't believe that the bride would still agree to it. However, he was intrigued by the bride's reaction so far. Were the characters' emotions in horror games so complicated nowadays? Tanghua's eyes curved into crescents. You're not lying to me. Why would I lie to you? The zombie king answered seriously. Why would he lie to a game character? He just wanted to see how she would react. It had been a long time since he did something so interesting. Tanghua put down the drumstick and moved the stool to the zombie king's side. Her beautiful eyes looked directly into the zombie king's eyes. The zombie king was also stunned by this game character. It was very realistic. The bride looked at him with such a serious expression, his heart couldn't help but beat. If he was a game character, perhaps he would really do whatever it took to keep the bride here and not allow anyone to take her away. Then I will be your bride from now on. Tanghua replied with a smile. She thought that guy wasn't in this world. She didn't expect him to run into the game. It was still the familiar soul fluctuation, it was still the transmigration without memories. The other party was much more miserable than her. He directly transmigrated into the game and seemed unable to return. Looking at such an interesting game character, he couldn't help but tease. Who knew how long he would be trapped in the game to be so bored? TSK, how pitiful. Tongzi, we're actually very lucky, aren't we? System, I don't want to back down. But when he heard that the host was sure that the zombie king was the mysterious transmigrator, he secretly became excited. Glancing at the slowly increasing energy, he became even happier. What? The zombie king was stunned. What did you say? I said that I will be your bride from now on. Tanghua repeated, looking at him with a confused gaze. You said that if I want to eat drumsticks every day, I will be your bride. Zombie king, shouldn't you refuse even if you beat me to death? Was there some sort of boss in this game? Tanghua didn't care. She moved closer, hugged the zombie king's arm, and said with a smile, Husband, you didn't lie to me before, right? I'm your bride, you can't abandon me, you have to be responsible for me. Caught off guard by the game character's teasing, the zombie king's mind was a little stiff, and he didn't know how to respond. No, wasn't this a little different from the background story of the game? With a serious expression, he glanced at Tanghua, who was hugging his arm. Her cute and obedient look made his fingers move uncontrollably. He really wanted to pinch her face. He felt that the pinch he had made earlier was especially nice to the touch. Husband, are you going back on your words? Do you think that I eat too much and can't afford to raise you? Do you not want me to be your bride? Tanghua pursed her lips, her eyes flashing with tears. She felt wronged and was afraid of being abandoned, causing the zombie king to blurt out, No, this king did not go back on his word. That's good. Tanghua held zombie king's arm with one hand and picked up a drumstick to gnaw on. Chapter 750. Before I came here, I heard from the villagers that you can't go back after coming to this town. The people living here are all terrifying zombies. I was indeed a bit scared before, but after coming in, the zombies didn't seem to hurt me. They are much friendlier than the people in the town. The zombie king's mouth twitched. What should he say? When he was still a human, he did attract all kinds of women, but he didn't think that he would be able to attract the bride who was originally hiding and afraid of him in the game. The fact that they were able to appear meant that there were players playing this game. He was a bit curious. If the player couldn't take the bride away, and the bride was willing to marry him, what kind of reaction would the player have? For some reason, the Zombie King was looking forward to it. Thinking that the woman holding his arm was just a game character, he didn't feel that uncomfortable. He looked at her with interest as she ate the drumstick with relish and ordered his housekeeper to bring more delicious food. "Husband, you are such a good person." Tang Guo wasn't stingy with her praise. "The villagers are all guessing how long I can live here. Although husband is a zombie, I don't think you are scary. A handsome and gentle man like husband can't be found in the entire village." The Zombie King was full of smiles after being praised. She was really a cute bride. He raised his hand to pat her head and asked, "Is life not good in the village?" "How can it be good? My family is poor, and I have 2 younger sisters and 3 younger brothers. This time, when they heard that husband was going to get married, in order to get some money, they let me marry you." Although he knew that this was the setting of the game, the Zombie King still felt pity for Tang Guo's background when he heard her words. "Then you can be at ease and stay here with this king. You won't have to live such a poor and difficult life anymore. As long as husband doesn't go back on his words and doesn't throw me out of Zombie Town, of course I am willing to stay by your side." The Zombie King took a deep breath. It was too realistic. If he faced this kind of bride every day, he probably wouldn't be able to control himself and would want to grow old with her. Unfortunately, she was just a game character. Tang Guo was almost full. She said to the Zombie King, "Husband, I want to take a bath, then we can rest." She clearly felt the other party's body stiffen for a moment, and her heart bloomed with joy. Even though her personality had changed, her degree of shyness had not increased. She would become shy as soon as he teased her. She was really cute. "Ben Wang will have the butler prepare it for you. He was the biggest boss in this game. As long as he was in Zombie Town, he could get whatever he wanted." Soon, the head butler, who was also the zombie leader who had been staring at Tang Guo, prepared water for her. The plot hadn't started yet, so everything was happening in secret. She guessed that Xia Yi was still outside of Zombie Town. If she wanted to come to Zombie Town, she would have to go through some tests. Therefore, no one could see what was happening here. She got up and walked to the back of the screen to take a comfortable bath. It's a little realistic. Even the bathwater was so realistic. Wasn't this a small world of its own? Perhaps to the characters in the game, this place was real. However, to the people in the real world, this place was illusory and created by them. After taking a bath, she came out from the back and saw the Zombie King sitting upright. She held his arm and asked, "Hubby, do you want me to help you?" Chapter 751. "No, that won't be necessary." The Zombie King quickly stood up. "Go to sleep." Without waiting for Tang Guo's response, he quickly walked out of the door. Although he was a game character, he wasn't that crazy. Tang Guo looked at the closed door and listened to the sound of hurried footsteps. She rolled on the bed and laughed out loud. "This is too funny. It seems that the Zombie King doesn't know that I'm a real person." She sat cross-legged and thought, if he knew that I'm a person, how would he react? Well, according to my irresponsible guess, he would fall head over heels in love with the host, and he would go wherever you pointed. He wouldn't avoid you like he is now. He shouldn't be interested in a relationship with a game character, but after knowing that the host is a human, he wouldn't have so many concerns. He finally understood how much the host affected the mysterious traveler. He couldn't stand it after flirting with her for a while, and he would appear at the right time every time. "Is that so?" Tang Guo raised her eyebrows. "Then I won't fall off so early." "System, host, your big cutie will be broken by you. Xia Yi should be here soon." According to the plot, Xia Yi will come to the town to find the bride on the first night of the bride's arrival in Zombie Town. Tangwa didn't plan to sleep. She put on her clothes and leisurely lay on the bed while chatting with the system. Later, she remembered that she hadn't been to the group for a long time. Every time she went to a new world, she would ask the system to show her face to show her existence. But she still missed her friends in the group. Open the group, I want to talk to them. Campus bell, is everyone there? Big brother Ziyun, big brother Mo, big brother Qi Shao. Ziyun, Mo Yuntian, and Qi Shao appeared at the same time and replied, yes, sister. Tangguo was happy. It was good that they were there. How have you been? Ziyun, not bad. Not long after you left, the three of us ascended to the celestial realm. At first, it wasn't easy. Originally, we were considered top-notch experts in the cultivation world. Only after arriving in the immortal realm did we realize that we had to start from scratch. That kind of disparity was indeed not a good feeling. Scarlet Heaven True Monarch, in order to survive and find resources to cultivate, I returned to my old profession, which is refining tools for others. If I had known that spirit stones were useless in the immortal realm, I would have left them to the juniors in my sect. Mo Yuntian, after we reach the immortal realm, the three of us will join forces. I'll be in charge of developing our forces, while Ziyun and Qi Shao will refine pills and weapons respectively. We'll slowly accumulate our strength. He had encountered many dangers as well. In short, it was similar to the world of cultivation. Those with bigger fists had the upper hand. Now that he had slowly stabilized, he would no longer be bullied. It was also because your disciples had to ascend for a period of time that we were able to avoid a lot of danger. Tangguo looked at them and sighed. That's good. I haven't talked to you guys for a long time. I was worried that something might have happened to you guys. Ziyun Dao Master, don't worry, little sister. We're not considered a top force in the immortal realm, but we'll have no problem protecting ourselves. You, on the other hand, will have to move to a small world after a short period of time. That place is filled with endless dangers. You have to be careful. We're all looking forward to meeting you again one day. Mo Yuntian, your disciples have asked about you. We told them that you've already left and are no longer in the cultivation world. They were very sad and wanted to continue their fate with you. Chapter 752. Tangguo looked at the long paragraphs in the group and was stunned. She had transmigrated to so many worlds. Almost every character in every world was just a passerby to her. Starting from that mysterious transmigrator to joining this group, she seemed to be remembered by people in this endless transmigration. They were like her. As long as they continued to cultivate, they would live forever and have an unlimited lifespan. As long as they existed in the group, they would always be in contact. Thinking of this, she felt even better. I understand, she replied. I hope there will be a chance to go to your celestial world and meet you again. But the transmigration to that world is not something I can control. If she could control the transmigration to these small worlds, everything would be different. At that time, the transmigration would no longer be about living, but about having fun. The others in the group also greeted her, saying that they hadn't seen her in a long time. She told them about the things that happened after she left the celestial world and transmigrated to the small world. The people in the group listened with great interest and were also amazed. They didn't expect her to have such an interesting experience. Knowing that she was in the game now, they were even more curious. They discussed it for a long time. When they heard how she came to be in the game, they were all angry for her. But they weren't worried about what would happen to her. Because she was too amazing, too mysterious, too powerful. Those who hurt her would definitely not have a good ending. She wouldn't stab someone to death. She would only make those who hurt her suffer a fate worse than death. This left a deep impression on Mo Yuntian and the others. When they ascended, Ling Yiling had already gone crazy. He became the #1 lunatic in the celestial world. Every time he opened his mouth, he would call her Tanghua. He would also look at her wooden sculpture with a silly smile and call her Saintess Aunt. Mo Yuntian couldn't do anything about it. That stupid disciple of his had made a mistake, and he had brought it upon himself. The girl's disappearing move was really heart-wrenching. Ling Yiling didn't even have a chance to repent. Everyone, I'll go first. My plot is about to start. I'll play with her for a while. I'll look for you guys when I'm free. Tanghua heard the system's notification and said goodbye to everyone in the group. Then she went offline. She opened her eyes. The door had just been gently pushed open, and a petite figure walked in stealthily. Tanghua looked at her and was a little surprised. She didn't think that this figure would turn into Xia Yi's original appearance in this game. When Xia Yi's character saw Tanghua, she smiled happily. She shushed her and walked to Tanghua's side. I'm here to take you away, Xia Yi's character said. At the same time, Xia Yi, who was controlling the game in the outside world, was a little nervous as she watched her character approach her target. After all, it was still very difficult for her to enter this zombie town. You definitely don't want to marry the terrifying zombie king. In fact, when Xia Yi looked at the screen, the characters in the game were talking to the bride automatically. But from Tanghua's perspective, she was talking to a real human being. Don't be afraid, I will definitely take you out of Zombie Town and send you home safely. From now on, you have to listen to me, understand? Tanghua smiled and asked, why should I listen to you? When Tanghua asked this question, on Xia Yi's screen, the same sentence appeared above the bride's head. Xia Yi was stunned. Chapter 753. Soon, Xia Yi realized that these dialogues must have been set up. Her character should be able to talk to the bride, so she wasn't worried. Her goal now was to make the bride agree to go with her. Then she could bring the bride out of the house to find some key clues and get the items to escape the town. As expected, new dialogues appeared above her character's head. She was relieved when she saw them. It seemed that the game that Ayu designed for her was really good. If you stay in the zombie town, you'll die. You're a human. How can you be with zombies? You can only live if you come with me. Tanghua smiled. No, I'm not leaving. Who are you? Why are you trying to trick me to leave my husband? Xia Yi was dumbfounded. Were all dialogues in horror games now so emotional? She even called him husband. Had the zombie king successfully brainwashed the bride? Was this to increase the difficulty of the game for the players? No matter what, you have to come with me. You'll die if you stay here. Obviously, Xia Yi's character was getting anxious. Tanghua still said slowly, I won't leave my husband. Why do you want to expose me and my husband? No, you must have been bewitched by the zombie king. Today, I must take you away. Tanghua was overjoyed. Xia Yi was dumbfounded when she saw the dialogues that appeared above her character's head. Was there something wrong with the plot? Why did she feel like she was playing the role of an old witch trying to break up a pair of lovers? Husband, come quickly. There's a person who came out of nowhere. She said that she wanted to secretly take me away. She's going to cruelly separate us. Tanghua suddenly shouted. Xia Yi's character was stunned. Xia Yi was also stunned when she saw the dialogues. Was this really okay? Almost as soon as Tanghua finished speaking, the zombie king flew in from outside. He slapped Xia Yi's character to the wall and shielded Tanghua behind him. He said to his zombie subordinates, tie her up. Yes, king. Tanghua was overjoyed. You didn't expect to be played by a game. System, poor Xia. The Zombie King then turned to look at Tangua, as if to confirm if she was really unwilling to leave. Finally, he asked, "Why don't you go with her? Husband, don't you want me anymore?" Tangua looked at the Zombie King anxiously. That pitiful look made the Zombie King wonder if he had made a big mistake to make her cry. "That's not what I meant." The Zombie King suddenly felt that even if the bride in front of him was a game character, he didn't want to hurt her, nor did he want to see her show an aggrieved expression, let alone make her cry. "Then why did you ask me if I'm leaving with her? Didn't you say that you wanted me to be your bride?" Zombie King hurriedly stepped forward to coax her. "All right, this king asked the wrong question. It's this king's fault. I have no intention of chasing you away. You can stay here as long as you want, as long as you want." Even if she wanted to leave, he could still go easy on her. This fake Zombie King didn't realize that his principles were slowly disappearing. System, it's a long story. Husband, she wants to break us up. Is it because she secretly likes you that she wants to expose us? The Zombie King didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Could a game character be jealous? Why did he feel a damn joy in his heart? Chapter 754. I don't know her. The Zombie King quickly answered and looked back at the person who was caught. "I'll get someone to chase her out of the town." He gave the chief butler a look and mouthed the words, "Kill her." The chief butler understood. He waved his stiff hand and brought Xia Yi's character out. Xia Yi was completely stunned in front of the computer. Wasn't this a bit wrong? When she just reacted and was about to escape, she didn't expect the butler to smile at her and say to the zombies in the zombie town, "Bite her to death." Then, the screen in front of her turned black. Then, the words, "Game failed," appeared on the computer screen. She was stunned and extremely depressed. Is this really a simple horror game with a simple plot? She just told the bride that she was going to take her away. She didn't do anything. The bride's reaction was completely unexpected. Could it be that this was the essence of this game, and it was different from the previous games? Tangua naturally knew that the zombies outside had bitten Xia Yi's game character to death. If it weren't for the fact that she had to act, she would have laughed out loud. This Zombie King even knew how to pretend to be obedient. Amazing. Remembering that he was a human, it wasn't strange. But it was interesting that a human had developed different feelings for a game character. Husband, will that bad person come again? Tangua knew that Xia Yi would definitely come again. Xia Yi was naturally obsessed with games. This kind of scene where she died inexplicably right after she finished her apprenticeship would make her feel resentful. Xia Yi would probably keep playing this horror game. Moreover, Xia Yi would plan to play it during the live stream because of what happened just now. This made the Zombie King hesitate. The other party would probably come again. It wasn't something that could be solved by killing her once. I'm not sure about that. Husband, just stay here. We are husband and wife. I am your bride. Why don't you live with me? The Zombie King, the bride asked to live with him. How should he answer? He wasn't a game character. He was actually a real person. Tangua tugged at the Zombie King's sleeve with a pitiful look. The Zombie King finally nodded. Okay, I'll rest here. Yes, yes. We are husband and wife. Naturally, we should live together. Tangua found that the Zombie King's ears were visibly red. She was laughing in her heart. He was obviously a zombie, but his ears could actually turn red. Was this a bee? Next, the Zombie King lay on the same bed with his bride in a daze, his mind still having some dreams. He was actually sleeping with a game character. Fortunately, this was a horror game and not an adult game. The bride did not know that there was something that could not be described between husband and wife. Otherwise, he really didn't know how to deal with it. A game character wanted to live a married life with him. Just thinking about it made him feel incomparably ashamed and beastly. Tanguo wanted to sleep, so she hugged the zombie king and fell asleep. Regardless of whether his body was stiff or not, he was the one who asked her to be his bride, so he shouldn't act shamelessly. Wasn't this a bit strange? He touched his heart and actually felt some warmth. Xia Yi finally came to her senses. Seeing that it was getting late, she also planned to sleep. Tomorrow afternoon, during the live stream, she must live stream this zombie bride with her fans. Chapter 755. Xia Yi woke up at 9:00 in the morning. When she woke up, she remembered the zombie bride horror game she had played last night. She could not help but call Feng Yu to ask if there was anything special about the game. Feng Yu was in the middle of a morning meeting. The quiet meeting room was disrupted by the ringtone. Feng Yu placed the phone on the table. A technical supervisor sitting not far from him glanced at it and saw the words Xiao Gua on the screen. He revealed an ambiguous expression and quickly winked at the others in the meeting room. Young Master Feng, pick up the phone first. Maybe it's something urgent. Tanguo had not been to the company for a long time. Many people missed her. They had been busy recently and did not have much time to watch the live broadcast. For some reason, they felt that watching the live broadcast was not as comfortable as seeing her in person. There were also people who had attended Feng Yu's birthday party. Almost none of them said a word to Tanguo. When they saw her, they only smiled and wanted to say a few words. However, Tanguo turned around and went somewhere else. It was very strange. They did not know that the reason why Tanguo did not talk to them was that she was afraid of being exposed. Feng Yu wanted to hang up the phone, but with everyone watching, she had no choice but to pick up the phone and go out. What's the matter? Xia Yi did not notice the coldness in Feng Yu's voice. She was very curious about the secret of the game. Didn't I play the game you put in the USB drive yesterday? I found the plot of the game a little strange. I've never played that game before. How did you come up with it? I plan to live stream the Zombie Bride game I played yesterday this afternoon. I've never seen the bride in the game. It's really interesting. Feng Yu frowned. You called me early in the morning just to tell me that the game is interesting? Yes, can't I? Didn't we talk about games every day like this? Didn't you let me try the games you designed first? Xia Yi asked in confusion. She then reacted. Did I disturb you? I'm sorry, Yu. I was just too excited. I thought that the game was really innovative and would be very popular. So far, I've only played one game. I haven't played the other two yet. Feng Yu's expression softened as she recalled their past experiences. Alright, I understand. These 3 games are specially prepared for you. Little E, I'm glad that you like them. I'm busy in the morning, so don't call me if there's nothing important. Just send me a message. He remembered that every time he saw the caller ID, it was always Xiao Guo. He paused and said, I'll buy you a new phone and SIM card after work. The one in your hand belongs to my friend, so keep it. Oh, I got it. After hanging up the phone, Xia Yi's interest faded a little. She fiddled with her phone. Oh right, this is someone else's. She glanced at the live broadcast cubicle. This is someone else's too. She walked out of the cubicle and looked around the elegantly decorated room. It's all someone else's. It didn't belong to her at all. Standing in front of the bathroom mirror, she looked at the exquisite and perfect face and the fair and slender body. The body is also someone else's. She touched her face, which was still extremely smooth even without using any skincare products, and thought of her body. Chapter 756. Although she was only in her teens, her skin was sallow and oily because of staying up late to play games. Occasionally, there would be 2 scary pimples on her face. Even if she didn't have these pimples on her face, it couldn't be compared to the beauty of this body. In her teens, she didn't use high-end skincare products at all. At most, she used some moisturizing lotion. The design of the bathroom was very European, and the items placed around it were all things she had never seen before. Xia lowered her head and didn't dare to look at her in the mirror. If she looked carefully, she would feel very uncomfortable. This beautiful face didn't belong to her. Everything she enjoyed didn't belong to her. It was only because of an accident that she got all of this. Once she looked at her in the mirror, she would see the inferiority hidden in the depths of her beautiful appearance. The inferiority that only she could see. She didn't know anything when she walked out of this beautiful house. She should be glad that the owner of this body liked games and was a game streamer. She even wondered if the owner would never come back. If the owner didn't come back, would she be able to occupy all of this forever? Xia quickly shook her head. How could she have such evil thoughts? All of this didn't belong to her. How could she be so vicious? It was time for her to wash her face, put on a perfect light makeup, and order a delicious takeout. Finally, she sat in front of the computer and familiarized herself with this strange world. She wanted to integrate into it as soon as possible. If the owner of this body came back one day, she might not be able to enjoy such a relaxed life. She had to prepare for her future life. Maybe you would find her a body that was poor but suitable for her. The owner must have no breath of life before she could possess it. Therefore, she couldn't be greedy for everything in this body. Yes, Xia, you can't be greedy for these things. It's wrong. Xia washed her face quickly. She glanced at the expensive brand facial cleanser that Tanggua had bought. She planned to wash her face with water today. However, after washing her face twice, she still felt that something was wrong. She stared at her face in the mirror for a while and smiled. This body belongs to someone else. If I only wash my face with water and don't use any makeup, she might be angry when she comes back and sees my bad skin. That's right. My body now belongs to you's friend. I have to take good care of it and not spoil it. Cosmetics, facial cleansers, these things all expire. I'm using them for this body. Why didn't I understand that? Xia said and began to use everything on the sink easily. However, I won't touch the valuables of the original owner. In the future, I will only use the money I earn from the live broadcast to buy things. After thinking it through, Xia let out a long sigh of relief, as if the guilt had lessened a lot. In the afternoon, she turned on her live stream and began to stream the game for her fans. She had almost imitated Tanggua's style. Perhaps it was because her brain waves had wandered in the online world, coupled with the muscle memory of this body. None of her fans realized that something was wrong. In the game, Tanggua also took a nap. She looked at the sky outside. It was still dark. It's not a worldlet. It's a game world, Tanggua said with a smile. There shouldn't be daylight here. She glanced around, but the zombie king was already gone. Chapter 757. There was a lot of food on the table, but the most eye-catching one was the big plate of chicken legs. It seemed that the zombie king thought that she really liked to eat chicken legs. Tanggua couldn't help but laugh. What an adorable person. She didn't stand on ceremony at all and started eating. Soon, she heard some noise in the room. She turned around and saw Xia Yi's character crawling in from a hole in the room. She was covered in dust and gave her a silly smile when she looked at her. She almost spat out the food in her mouth. Xia Yi's character made a shushing gesture to Tanggua. She looked around carefully and slowly moved in front of Tanggua. Xia Yi was actually a little nervous in front of the computer, especially when she saw the bride gnawing on a chicken leg. Was this game a joke? A horror game? I'm here to save you. Come with me. I can take you out of the zombie town and send you home. I guarantee that you can get out of here alive. Tanggua giggled. Why do I have to go home? Xia Yi was obviously stunned. A sentence popped up above her character's head. This is a scary zombie town. You're a human. You'll be turned into a zombie by the zombie king sooner or later. There are a lot of chicken legs here. I'm not going back. The audience watching the live broadcast saw the bride's reaction and the whole broadcast room was in an uproar. They all asked what kind of horror game it was and whether it was a comedy game. The bride's reaction was really out of their expectations. Today, the host told them that there was a very interesting game. Was this the bride's reaction? Tanggua gnawed on a chicken leg, which made the audience in the broadcast room widen their eyes. Did she have to do this? Bride, aren't you a little inelegant like this? You have to come with me. It'll be too late if you don't, Xia Yi's character said again. Tanggua glanced at her. You can go. I don't want to go. What can you do if you send me back? My family is very poor. I can't even get a chicken leg in a year. I have a lot of brothers and sisters. If you send me back, my parents will sell me to Squire Wang in the town. Squire Wang was 70 years old this year and had more than 20 concubines. It was said that he couldn't even walk properly. If you save me from here, aren't you pushing me into a fire pit? Xia Yi was dumbfounded. The audience watching the live stream was also dumbfounded. Bride, do you have to be so real? Some people in the live broadcast room were silent. They had seen similar plots before, where the heroic protagonist saved some pitiful people. At that time, they were happy for the righteous hero, especially after the poor guy was saved. But they never seemed to think about what kind of life these poor people would have after they were sent home. Weren't these pitiful people sent here by their families? Their loved ones were willing to let them die. After sending them back, their loved ones might not be happy. Just as the bride said, it was likely that they would really be pushed into another fire pit. The protagonists represented justice. They only saved the poor people from a fiery pit. In fact, they couldn't save these poor people at all. It was obviously a horror game, but many people in the live stream fell into deep thought. Chapter 758. No matter what, you have to leave this place, Xia Yi's character continued. Tanggua replied, my husband treats me very well. He gives me drumsticks and is not fierce to me. He's very gentle. I don't want to leave. No, you're a human and he's a zombie. He'll hurt you sooner or later. Tanggua smiled. You're not my husband. How do you know he'll hurt me? She pointed at the food on the table. He listens to me and says that if I don't want to leave, he won't chase me away. Compared to my family, he treats me the best in the world. Once I leave Zombie Town, I may never find someone who treats me as well as he does. Whether he's a human or a zombie, I'm willing to stay here. Will I be in your way if I don't leave? I can decide my own life and death. You're a busybody, and you even dug a hole in my home. Since we're both humans, I won't call you my husband this time. You can leave. No, you have to leave with me. The audience in the live broadcast room was a little angry. The bride doesn't want to leave. Why do you have to make her leave? That's right. She's living a good life. The zombie king doesn't seem fierce. If he really wants to hurt her, he definitely won't be so nice to her. If it were me, I wouldn't leave either. Compared to marrying an old man who has more than 20 concubines, I'd rather be in a relationship with a zombie. Tangguo clearly saw the reaction of the audience in the live broadcast room. She was in a very happy mood. She continued, "You should leave now. When my husband comes, he will catch you and let his subordinates bite you to death." Ha ha ha, this bride knows how to threaten. She's amazing. I'm a fan of the bride in this game. Xia Yi's character was set to take the bride away. Xia Yi also wanted to pass the game and take the bride away. The bride didn't agree. She didn't find the hidden plot to break through, so she could only let the character talk to the bride. The zombie king is a zombie after all. He can't be nice to you forever. And your family will always be your family. They won't want you to die. Not to mention the fans in the live broadcast room, even Xia Yi herself felt that this sentence was very hypocritical. If the family really didn't want the bride to die, why would they send her out? Tangguo felt that it was about time. She shouted outside, "Husband, that bad person from yesterday is here again. She wants to break us up." Hearing the bride's words, the audience in the live streaming room was stunned. The bad guy from yesterday. They were all very suspicious. Could it be that the bride of this game still had memories? Xia Yi was also surprised that the bride remembered her. What kind of game was this? She was very sure that this was a single-player horror game. Just as everyone was confused, Zombie King flew in from outside and slapped Xia Yi's character onto the wall. The fans in the live stream, "Ha ha 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 ha, what a pitiful streamer." There was no other streamer who had it worse. Amazing, my Zombie King. For some reason, he felt that the Zombie King and the bride were a perfect match. What should I do? I must have been poisoned. I'm actually hoping that the Zombie King and his bride would ruthlessly abuse the streamer. 1. You are not alone. 1. You're really not alone. I also want to see the streamer get abused. Chapter 759. Husband, why does she always want to break us up? Are you sure she doesn't have a crush on you? Tangguo hugged the Zombie King's arm and asked with jealousy. The Zombie King was speechless. It was so real that he thought he had married a real wife. But seeing her jealous look, he couldn't help but explain, "No, there's no such thing. I don't know where she came from. She's not as beautiful as you. She's so ugly that I don't like her." Husband, do you mean that if she's prettier than me, you'll like her? No, it's not like that. The Zombie King was a little confused. No matter what she looks like, I don't like her. Tangguo pondered for a moment before she finally understood. Then what you mean is that you only have eyes for me, right? The Zombie King let out a sigh of relief and smiled. That's right, this king only has eyes for you. That's great, husband. I think I'm right. You must be the best person in the world to me. How can I leave with her? Being looked at so seriously by Tangguo and hearing her words, no one would not be moved. The Zombie King was not a real game character. He was a real person. How could he not be moved? He didn't know who in the Feng family designed this game, but he was moved. He even felt a little regretful that she was just a game character. He pressed the back of her head and laughed softly. As long as you don't leave here, I'll be good to you. I won't leave here. I'll be good to you, husband. In the live broadcast room, oh my god, I was caught off guard and fed a mouthful of dog food by the poor guy in the horror game. It's so scary these days. Even game characters are feeding us dog food. Why do I feel that the streamer is a little like Fahai? I still hope that the Zombie King can abuse the streamer. Don't pass this game. If you do, I'll be very sad. After all, the bride and the Zombie King seem to love each other deeply and are a good match. Streamer, you can't be the bad guy. Xia Yi was going crazy. She was being played by the game. But she was really a person who had to pass the game. She pursed her lips and planned to continue. If she didn't pass the game, she wouldn't play other games. Husband, what should we do with this bad guy? Tangua pointed at Xia Yi's character, who had been tied up, and asked, will she come again? This Zombie King was somewhat helpless. This king doesn't know either. Then let's chase her out first. Tangua expressed that she still had to maintain the image of a bride. In any case, the Zombie King directly ordered the zombies to bite the other party to death. She could just say that she wanted to chase them out. System, maintain my ass, it's already collapsed to the point of no return. The Zombie King's face was taut as he held his bride's hand and waved his hand. Chase that thing out for this king. At the same time, he gave the head butler a look. Although he knew that he couldn't kill the other party, biting the other party to death was more in line with his Zombie King persona, wasn't it? The fans in the live broadcast room really thought that the Zombie King would chase the streamer's character out, but in the end, they saw Xia Yi's character being pulled out of the room. The butler revealed a ferocious smile. He ordered, bite her to death. At that time, the reaction of the fans in the live stream was, fuck. The Zombie King even knew how to feign compliance, how impressive. Then, 4 words appeared on Xia Yi's computer screen, game failed. Chapter 760. For the next few days, Xia Yi played Zombie Bride every day. As a result, her live stream room was filled with all kinds of curses. Was the streamer dragged out by the Zombie King and bitten to death? The streamer was tied up and the Zombie King let her out to parade on the streets. Maybe because Xia Yi had broken through the game too many times, the Zombie King didn't kill her anymore. He just tied her up outside the house. The entire live stream room was very quiet as they watched the Zombie King pamper his bride. Xia Yi's character could only watch the two show off their love. Xia Yi couldn't restart the game even if she wanted to. Every time she restarted the game, she would return to the same place where she was tied up. The fans in the live stream room were very happy. Xia Yi's gaming experience was almost zero. She was almost driven crazy by the game. After playing games for so many years, she had never been played by a game before. This experience was really not good at all. She only had one wish, which was to find a way to take the bride out of the town once. When the game was cleared, she would never play the game again. Husband, why does this bad woman come here every day? Tangua leaned on the Zombie King and asked with a smile. She's so thick-skinned. The Zombie King didn't know whether to laugh or cry. There must be something wrong with her brain. Was her brain eaten by zombies? Xia Yi was so angry that her eyes turned red. Your brain was eaten by zombies. The fans in the live stream room, the streamer's brain was eaten by zombies. The Zombie King looked at the bride sitting beside him and felt some emotions in his heart. He understood this feeling very well and couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. He was considered a genius in the gaming world. He didn't expect that he would be attracted to a game character. Maybe he would never be able to get out. Currently, the bride's character was almost never repeated. Maybe they could really go on like this. He raised his head and coldly glanced at the people who were tied up while patting Tangua's head. In order to spend more time with his bride, he had no choice but to tie up all the players who played this game. For half a month, Xia Yi used all kinds of methods to make the bride agree to go with her, let alone secretly take her out. She tried to find the props in the town, but she didn't expect that. Once, the bride held a talisman and smiled at her. "I knew you were up to no good. You must be looking for something to harm my husband. Fortunately, I found all these things. I won't let you hurt my husband." Then, Xia Yi and the audience in the live streaming room watched as Tang Guo tore the amulet apart. Not only did she tear it apart, but she also rubbed it hard and threw it into the water. Xia Yi was speechless. Viewers in the live stream, the bride is indeed their goddess. She's so protective of her man. The zombie king is so lucky. Then, Tang Guo waved her hand. "Tie her up. This bad woman wants to harm my husband. Whip her." Then, the viewers in the live streaming room watched as the streamer was whipped by the game character for half an hour. System, it's broken, it's broken. Xia Yi was indeed a little exhausted. She couldn't sleep because of the weather. Thinking about what she had experienced in the past few days, she felt that it was a nightmare. That bride and the zombie king were really too annoying. She decided that she wouldn't play that game tomorrow afternoon. Weren't there 2 other games in the USB flash drive? Xia Yi's eyes lit up. Yes, she would play another game tomorrow. She didn't believe that she would meet such annoying characters again. It wasn't a game at all. It was clearly a game player. Chapter 761. Husband, will that bad woman come again? The zombie king looked at the bride beside him with a gentle gaze and replied, "I don't know. I found and destroyed all the charms in Zombie Town that could harm husband. With me here, I won't let her harm husband." The zombie king took a deep breath. He actually couldn't resist the sweet words of a game character and fell for it just like that. Just who designed this character? She actually pierced right into his heart. It really made him feel both warm and regretful. He didn't know how much longer they could be together. Even though she was just a game character, he couldn't help but hug her and ask in a low voice, "Is there anything else you want to eat? I'll have the butler prepare it for you." "There's nothing else." Tang Guo looked up with a smile in her eyes. "If there's something I really want to eat, then there's something I really want to eat." "What is it?" The zombie king's gaze became more and more indulgent. "Tell me and have the butler prepare it." "Well." Tang Guo hesitated for a moment before whispering in his ear, "I'm afraid the butler doesn't have it." "Only you have it. Why am I the only one with it?" The zombie king didn't react for a moment and asked, "What is it?" "System, hee. It's you, husband. I want to eat you, but I don't know if that's possible." Tang Guo stared straight at the zombie king. That seductive and serious gaze made the zombie king's entire body burn. Eat him. That wasn't good. He thought that game characters didn't understand. Could it be that he had unlocked some hidden attribute? His heart was tickled and he blurted out without thinking, "How does my wife want to eat me?" After asking, the old zombie's ears burned even more. He forced a smile. He actually asked a game character such a question. Did he really stay in the game for too long and think that this was a real world? Tang Guo leaned her head on the zombie king's shoulder and blinked. She asked with a longing gaze, "Can I eat you?" The system indicated that it should block it. The zombie king was stunned for a moment. He rubbed Tang Guo's head and said with an uncomfortable expression, "We'll talk about this later." He suddenly remembered that he had never asked for the name of this game character, so he asked, "It's been a few days, and I haven't asked for your name either." "My name is Tang Guo. My family is from Tang Village." Tang Guo opened her mouth, but the zombie king repeated this name several times. Even if she was no longer here in the future, he would probably remember this name for a long time. Tangua, a person from his family Tang village, was a game character that could touch his heart. She was like a real person, and he even hoped that she was a real person. "What's your name, husband?" Zombie King came back to his senses and did not immediately answer, as if he was recalling something. After a long while, he looked at Tangua seriously and said, "My name is Feng Ming." Feng Ming. Tangua narrowed her eyes. Were they from the Feng family? That should be it. However, even though they all had the same surname, why were there so many different people? Some people were extremely annoying, while others were just too cute. I'll remember it. Feng Ming is my husband's name. Feng Ming saw how happy Tangua was, and a helpless and doting smile appeared on his face. He didn't know if it was good or bad to have feelings for a game character. Fortunately, he was in the game and was already dead in reality. As long as she didn't disappear, they could always be together. Feng Ming looked at Tangua's smiling face and wanted to say something, but everything around him suddenly shattered, and the Tangua in front of him disappeared. Chapter 762. When the environment suddenly changed, Tangua was slightly stunned. She looked around and saw that she was surrounded by a forest. The ground was made of smooth stone slabs and the silver moonlight shone above her head. Unlike the sedan she was in before, the carriage she was in now was in the style of ancient Europe. She looked ahead. Under the moonlight, she could clearly see that there was a huge castle not far ahead. Even at night, she could still feel the magnificence and splendor of the castle. Because it was hidden deep in the mountains, the surroundings were quiet and eerie. It didn't look like a place where normal people lived. It should be another game. Tangua guessed and said to the system, "I think it should be Vampire's Bride. Vampires come from the west. The carriage I'm in is in the style of ancient Europe. The castle in front is also a standard ancient European castle. The person leading the horse in front is wearing the same clothes. It means that I've entered the Vampire's Bride game." Tangua rubbed her chin and narrowed her eyes. Could that vampire's blood emperor be Feng Ming? System, I think it should be. I think so too. These three games were all designed by Feng Yu. Feng Ming being the zombie king was definitely not a coincidence. There must be a connection. But this was not important. The moment she decided to enter the game, she didn't want to go out. After playing in the online world for so many days, she didn't want to go out. What was fun in the outside world? It was only fun in the online world. While she and the system were talking, the carriage stopped outside the castle. A Western-looking man in a tuxedo walked out of the castle. He looked elegant and noble. He came in front of Tangua and smiled like a god. "Beautiful lady from the east, please get down from the carriage. The master has been waiting for you for a long time." Tangua was helped down by the butler and followed him in. The castle looked quiet from the outside, but when they walked in, they realized that there were many people inside. They all slowly danced to the beat of the music on the dance floor. Everything looked very harmonious, as if there was just a late-night dance party here. The moment Tangua walked in, many eyes fell on her. Especially the men present, their gazes towards Tangua were filled with mockery. Tangua stood beside the housekeeper calmly. She did not care about those invasive gazes. There was nothing to be afraid of. This lady from the east is master's distinguished guest. The housekeeper glanced at the people at the ball. After saying this, the people who were originally looking at Tangua hurriedly looked away and continued to dance with their partners, as if nothing had happened just now. The butler was very satisfied. He asked Tangua to wait by the side and poured her a glass of red wine and dessert. During this time, no one dared to approach Tangua, but she could hear the people on the dance floor talking about her. She's so beautiful. It's a pity that he is the food of the Blood Emperor. I hope the Blood Emperor is not satisfied with this dessert. You're dreaming. She looks delicious and sweet. Tanghua sipped her red wine and glanced at the people who were talking to themselves. They were a group of people who were imitating others to talk about right and wrong. System, look at how arrogant my host is. Not long after, the music stopped and a man appeared at the top of the stairs. His gaze fell on Tanghua. When he saw Tanghua's face, he was stunned. Then he quickly walked down and stood in front of Tanghua. Chapter 763. Beautiful lady, may I dance with you? The man's voice was sexy and magnetic. It was very attractive. He bent down slightly and stretched out his hand. His eyes never left Tanghua's body. Tanghua put down the wine glass and stood up. She placed her hand in his and smiled gently. It's my honor. Feng Ming was stunned when he saw this smile. If he hadn't come to another game and seen a girl with the same face but different clothes, he would have thought that they were the same game character. But he shook his head. How could it be the same game? Such a small probability event couldn't exist in the Feng family's game. He led his food to the dance floor. Neither of them spoke. When they danced, they actually had a tacit understanding. During this time, Feng Ming kept having the illusion that he was still holding his bride's hand. The bride, who especially liked to eat drumsticks, had a beautiful smile, and said sweet words that could reach the bottom of one's heart. She even fiercely said that those players were bad people. He didn't expect that while they were chatting happily in the game, his surroundings would shatter in an instant. He had become the most honorable person in the castle. In this game, he was defined as the first Blood Emperor of the vampire. It was really unexpected. He felt a little regretful. He didn't know how his bride was doing. Was that game destroyed because of their existence? Beautiful lady, what's your name? Respected sir, my name is Tanghua. Tanghua looked at Feng Ming with a smile and said her name. The moment she said her name, she successfully saw Feng Ming's stunned expression. She even felt his body tremble slightly. His large hand tightened around her waist and pulled her into his arms. That pair of deep and gentle eyes stared at her face. He raised a hand and touched her cheek as if to confirm something. In the end, the disappointment in his eyes disappeared and he laughed softly. His voice was very happy. He leaned close to Tanghua's ear. Bride, is that you? I'm Feng Ming, Feng Ming said excitedly. Feng Ming said excitedly. He didn't know if Tanghua still had her memories, but the beautiful girl in front of him was exactly the same as his bride. Every frown and smile, even her voice, intonation, and the playfulness in her eyes were the same. Tanghua blinked at him. She stood on her tiptoes and whispered in his ear, Hubby, is that you? Yes. Feng Ming replied quickly. He brought Tanghua to the center of the dance floor and led her to dance happily. The surrounding vampires were dumbfounded. Why was their first Blood Emperor so happy? Could it be because of that beautiful Oriental girl? Was it food filled with a sweet aroma? I thought I would never see you again. Feng Ming said happily. He hugged Tanghua's waist and didn't want to let go. I didn't expect to see you again, my bride. The lights gradually dimmed. There were not only vampires on the dance floor, there were also ordinary people who had been brought in. To be able to come here, they were all carefully selected by the vampires. Some of them were willing to come, while others didn't know the situation here. But no one could escape. When the sun rose tomorrow morning, there would only be a castle of vampires left. I'm a vampire this time. Feng Ming's happy voice rang out. That bad woman should be coming again. Tang Guo couldn't help but laugh. I won't go with her. I know. Chapter 764. Are you willing to be with me forever? Feng Ming seemed to have thought it through. He didn't know when they would be separated again. It was better to take advantage of this short period of time to be together. Of course. Tang Guo replied. This time, I'm still alone. If I can be with you, becoming a vampire is nothing. I also want to see what kind of expression that bad woman will have when she comes to save me and finds out that I'm a vampire. Feng Ming was amused. She was indeed very attractive. Now, he didn't care if she was a character in a game or a real person. He just wanted to be with her. As long as they were together, he wanted to pamper her and treat her well. Feng Ming brought Tang Guo to a dark corner and pressed her against the wall. The two of them were very close. He kissed her neck. It might hurt a little. To be honest, he didn't really want to bite her. He knew that she wasn't a real person, but he still didn't want to see her in pain. I heard that being bitten by a vampire doesn't hurt. Instead, it will give you a very special feeling. Try biting me first. Feng Ming didn't know whether to laugh or cry. There was such a saying. Seeing Tang Guo's expectant gaze, he stretched out his fangs and gently bit her delicate neck. Fresh blood filled his mouth, making him feel like he was sucking her dry. But he controlled himself and only bit a very shallow wound. In the end, he even licked it for her. Seeing that she didn't look like she was in pain, he heaved a sigh of relief. The other vampires on the dance floor naturally saw this scene. In the end, they were stunned as they watched their first blood emperor carry Tang Guo up. He didn't treat her as food at all, but as if he was holding the most precious gem. This group of people didn't understand why the blood emperor, who had never bitten anyone, would bite this Asian girl and even turn her into a vampire. Was she really that delicious? The confused vampires were a little disappointed. From tomorrow onwards, that Asian girl would be the descendant of the Blood Emperor, the second generation of vampires, His Royal Highness. Whether it was in terms of strength or seniority, she was higher than them. They looked at each other and thought for a moment. Perhaps they should call her Royal Highness tomorrow. God, this must be a dream. Why did they have to have a Royal Highness that they couldn't afford to offend at a ball? Moreover, she was such a weak Asian girl. They hoped that when they woke up the next morning, it would all be a dream. The next day, Tang Guo could feel that her body in the game had gained a lot of power. She also felt that she was connected to Feng Ming by blood. How is it? Feng Ming asked nervously. Tang Guo smiled. Not bad. I feel like I'm full of energy. Is that bad woman here? Feng Ming patted her head indulgently. Not yet. Then I'll wait for her. Feng Ming was a little suspicious. She was so vengeful and wanted to teach that player a lesson. She really resembled a person. In order to cooperate with Tang Guo, Feng Ming could only follow the plot and leave her alone for a while. Xia Yi didn't wake up until noon because she had stayed up late last night and was tired from the zombie bride game. She didn't forget her decision last night. She definitely wouldn't play the zombie bride today. In the end, she chose the vampire bride. One was from the east, and the other was from the west. She didn't believe that this game would be as torturous as the previous one. After washing up and putting on makeup, she opened the live stream. The audience in the live stream saw her and yelled, "Host, are you still going to be tortured by the zombie king and the bride?" Chapter 765. I'm not playing that today. Xia Yi smiled, but she wanted to say something. She didn't know what was wrong with the audience. They just liked to watch her get tortured. If it weren't for the fact that they had given her rewards, she wouldn't have bothered with these crazy people. What should she play today? The audience was a little disappointed, but they were also looking forward to it. Perhaps it would be more fun than the previous game. Xia Yi opened the Vampire Bride game. The live stream was quiet for the time being. She went through a lot of trouble to disguise herself as a servant and sneak into the vampire castle. She found the bride's room and used the excuse of delivering tea to sneak into the room. In reality, it wasn't that easy. Feng Ming had gone easy on Xia Yi in order to cooperate with Tang Guo. At the moment, he was sure that these games hadn't been released yet. Xia Yi was the only player. Or perhaps, this game was designed for Xia Yi. As for why he was here, he wasn't sure. The audience in the live stream was excited when they saw Xia Yi successfully enter the room. Actually, they were looking forward to it. They were especially happy when they saw the streamer get tortured. They didn't know why. They also felt regretful. If the streamer stopped playing the zombie bride game, they wouldn't be able to see the interesting bride. The bride was cuter than the streamer. Hello. Tang Guo looked at the person who was dressed as a servant. Who are you? Why are you here? The audience in the live stream saw the bride talking like this and thought, is this character designed similar to the previous one? It's not an ordinary character design, but a character design that can torture players. Oh my god, I'm so excited. Xia Yi felt that something was wrong, but her character was persuading the bride to leave with her. At this moment, she couldn't do anything. According to normal games, when players appeared, the bride would agree to leave with them. She didn't know why the design of Yu's previous game was different. Soon, Xia Yi put these thoughts aside and continued to watch the conversation. This castle is full of vampires. You should be afraid, right? Tang Guo shook her head. No, I'm not afraid. The audience in the live stream, ha 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 ha, the bride said she's not afraid. Ha 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 ha, this is hilarious. Xia Yi, isn't the situation a little strange? They will bite you, drink your blood, and turn you into a vampire that cannot see the light of day. Xia Yi's character continued, I'm here to save you. As long as you follow me, I can send you home and guarantee your safety. Tang Guo quickly shook her head. I won't. Viewers in the live stream, the bride said she's not leaving. Host, did you hear that? Xia Yi frowned. Things were getting worse. How can you dance with a vicious vampire? You have to come with me tonight, or else the Blood Emperor will definitely turn you into a vampire. At that time, you will no longer be a human, and you will never be able to go back and see your family. Bride, come with me. I will definitely bring you home safely. Tang Guo grinned. Become a vampire. That's right. They will turn you into a vampire. It will be very painful. You will live in darkness forever, unable to see the sun. You will also have long fangs. Just imagining that scene is incomparably terrifying and ugly. Is that so? Tang Guo suddenly stretched out her fangs at Xia Yi's character and grabbed her. Are you going to turn into a vampire if I bite you with these long fangs? Chapter 766. When the audience saw that the bride showed her long fangs and was about to bite Xia Yi's character, the whole room went crazy. What the fuck? What the fuck? Ha 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 ha, I'm dying of laughter. The streamer's room is the source of happiness today. When you tell the bride that vampires are scary and will turn her into a vampire, and she suddenly shows her long fangs to you and asks you if that's true, how will you react? I can only say, 666. After the zombie bride, I have another goddess, and it's this vampire bride. Pfft, what a trick. Let's calculate the area of the streamer's psychological shadow. Xia, I don't know if I should say something. The bride has become a vampire. How can I save her? This game is poisonous. But her character was still grabbed by the bride and couldn't get rid of her. Xia felt like she had nothing left to live for. Tanggui took back her fangs and looked down at Xiaoyi's character. You are the only human in this castle. Your blood should be very sweet. They will be very satisfied. Xiaoyi's premonition was getting worse and worse. Butler. As soon as Tanggui said that, the butler in a tuxedo came in. My prince, how can I help you? There is a sweet food here. She is a human and doesn't want to become a vampire. Take her to meet everyone. Ask them to treat her well. Just take one bite a day. Give her more food to nourish her blood so that she won't die from excessive blood loss. Yes, my prince. I will go now. The butler walked out and called for 2 people to come in. They took the dumbfounded Xiaoyi's character out. Soon, she came to her senses and shouted, You can't do this. We are the same kind. How can you hurt your own kind? I am a vampire now. We are not the same kind. If you want to become one, I can ask them to fulfill your wish. No, I don't want to. I don't want to become a vampire. The audience in the live room looked at this scene and laughed crazily. At the same time, they couldn't look at this scene directly. This was really a case of the players being played by the game. They looked at how Xiaoyi's character was struggling. They didn't sympathize with her at all. They only thought that it was really funny. This game was too interesting. Ha 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 ha, let them have some fun first. Xia watched as her character was brought downstairs. Then, those scary vampires started to discuss how much blood she should bleed every day. His Highness the Prince said that you are not allowed to bite her to death. You can't suck it dry either. Not to mention becoming a vampire. We also need to feed her food to replenish her blood. Xiaoyi's eyes were a little dizzy. You can't do this, okay? The audience in the streaming room, ha 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 ha, I don't know what to say. I just feel happy. Streamer, you can play this every day in the future. No, Xia refused in her heart. She would go crazy if she was played by the game every day. She glanced at the tortured game character and felt a little hopeless. Finally, she had no choice but to call Feng Yu. Ah, you. Is something the matter? Xia looked at the screen and felt wronged. Did you design this game to tease her? Ah, you, I think that the 3 games you designed are very strange. I have played 2 of them so far. The reactions of the characters in the game are really surprising. Xia told him what had happened. Ah, you, how did you think of designing such a game? Wait, can you say that again? Feng Yu was a little surprised. He remembered that this was a simple horror single-player game. It was completely different from what Xia had said. Chapter 767. When Xia heard Feng Yu's question, she assumed that he took this matter very seriously. Since she was the one playing the game, he must have taken her seriously. Recently, she had been overjoyed because she had a body. Coupled with the fact that she played games every day, she had almost forgotten about Feng Yu. They had been in a relationship for so many years. How could she forget about Feng Yu's existence? She quickly described the situation in the game to Feng Yu in detail. Ah, you, is the game like this, or is there something wrong with it? If the game is like this, I might never be able to pass the game. Now, I'm being mocked by the viewers in my live stream. As soon as I went on the live stream, they asked me if I was going to be played by the game or tortured by the game character. Although she had received a lot of tips recently, she still felt frustrated. Most people who really like to play games would not want to be tortured by the game. Feng Yu completely ignored Xia Yi's last sentence. His mind was filled with the game's scene that Xia Yi had described. He was very sure that he had not set up any hidden plots when he designed the 3 games. The theme of the games and the character designs of the 3 brides were also different from what Xia Yi had described. Xia Yi's description of her character gave people a feeling that she had broken down. "Little Yi, have you gone offline yet?" "Not yet. My character is still stuck in the game. She's being bled by all sorts of vampires. She looks terrible," Xia Yi said softly. We haven't seen each other for a few days. Are you free? Why don't you come over?" "Alright, I'll be right there." Xia Yi felt much better. "You still cared about her as much as before. Then I'll wait for you." Feng Yu was actually very busy. However, he had never encountered a problem like the one that had appeared in the game design industry for so many years. The bride's reaction made him even more concerned. It was as if she was not a character in the game, but a person. As he thought of this, Feng Yu felt slightly excited. Xia Yi was playing the game on Xiaoguo's computer. Could the bride in the game be Xiaoguo? As he touched the watch on his wrist, he recalled the sweet smile on Tangua's face. Her character was completely different from the broken bride in the game. Immediately, his heart sank. Indeed, the two were completely different. How could he have guessed that the bride was Xiaoguo? He could only say that it was possible. No matter what, these 3 games were designed by him. He had to take a look. About 15 minutes later, Feng Yu arrived. He took the spare key and opened the door directly. Walking into the small cubicle where the live stream was taking place, he saw Xia Yi's character being surrounded by many vampires on the game interface. The character's face was pale. Xia Yi was sitting at the side with a look of despair. "Ah, you." Seeing that Feng Yu had arrived, she hurriedly stood up. "Quick, take a look. This is what it looks like." Feng Yu glanced at the screen and sat down. "I'll reset the game first." When Feng Yu walked to the computer, Tanguo was already paying attention. When she heard that Feng Yu wanted to reset the game, she was a little unhappy. Unless they stopped playing the game, as long as she was in the game, they couldn't reset if she didn't want them to. As a result, Feng Yu encountered a situation where he was unable to reset the game that he had designed. "How is it, you?" Xia Yi asked nervously, "Is there anything wrong with the game?" Chapter 768. This game is supposed to be like this, Feng Yu explained briefly. After all, this was just a normal horror game. What Xia Yi had encountered earlier should not have happened. Now that the game could not be reset, he would not be able to see the bride and the Blood Emperor. He would not be able to find out what was going on. Let me analyze their data. Xia Yi did not understand these things. She could only watch as Feng Yu worked. She did not dare to disturb him, especially when she saw the frown on his face. Feng Yu did not like to be disturbed when he was working. Hence, Xia Yi remained silent. After a long while, Feng Yu's face turned pale. "It's completely normal. How was that possible?" "Ah, you, can't we do it?" Xia Yi recalled how she had been tortured. "Why don't we just destroy this game? I didn't know about it in the past. Now that I know that it's not like this, I feel very uncomfortable. If we destroy it, the bride probably won't appear again." Feng Yu turned around to look at Xia Yi. "We can't destroy it." He had yet to confirm if the bride was Xiaoguo's brainwave. Before he could confirm it, the game had to exist properly. Little E, you mentioned that the zombie bride had the same problem. Yeah. That's why I played the vampire bride today. Xia E pouted. I didn't expect it to be like this. Why don't you try the zombie bride? Maybe you'll find something. Feng Yu nodded. He used another computer and loaded the zombie bride into the game. Tang Gua had been staring outside the entire time. As soon as the zombie bride was activated, her surroundings began to shatter. Feng Ming, who had been sitting next to her and hugging her, began to panic. When the surroundings became clear again, Tang Gua and Feng Ming appeared in the zombie bride game at the same time. The two of them were lying on the bed in each other's arms. They opened their eyes, looked at each other, and smiled at the same time. Feng Ming hugged Tang Gua's waist tightly as he breathed into her ear. I thought I wouldn't be able to see you again. I didn't expect to see you in my arms when I opened my eyes. Feng Ming smiled. If only you were like me. Even in the game, I wouldn't have to worry about you disappearing. Tang Gua could understand Feng Ming's complicated emotions. She hugged his waist tightly and said, I am a human. Guogua, my bride, who designed you? You actually have so many human emotions. I'm really starting to like you more and more. As Feng Ming spoke, he kissed her forehead. So what if you're a game character? I still like you. I like you too. Tang Gua smiled at Feng Ming and kissed him on the lips. She wrapped her arms around his neck and said seriously, I'm really alone. Stop comforting me. Feng Ming smiled helplessly. The bride was too considerate. She could actually grasp his emotions and say that she was a human. System, you've gone overboard. I don't believe you. Dear host, let's see how you explain that you're a human and not a game character. Tang Gua bit Feng Ming and said, I'm really alone. Feng Ming only smiled and shook his head. He pressed her into his arms and kissed her a few times. Yes, you're alone. Tang Gua was speechless. She couldn't explain it clearly. Hubby, do I look like a human? Tang Gua smiled. Very good. If he didn't believe that she was a human, then she wasn't a human. Very. Feng Yu smiled dotingly. Chapter 769. Feng Ming no longer cared about whether she was a person or a game character. He was curious about how many hidden attributes she had that had not been triggered. He was thinking, if she was like him, staying in this game forever, existing forever, would he not be the same as before, would he not be lonely anymore? Tang Gua felt Feng Ming's excitement. It was a little strange. Wasn't this guy very reserved before and didn't have much interest in the game character? Why was he so enthusiastic now? Did he figure it out somewhere? Hubby. Feng Ming paused. What is it? What are you thinking about? Feng Ming looked at Tang Gua's confused expression and chuckled. He pinched her face. I'm thinking that in the future, Guoguo will be with me in this world. I'm no longer alone here. Didn't Guoguo say that she wanted to be my wife? Now I understand. I like Guoguo very much and want to live here with you. When Feng Ming said this, his eyes were full of smiles. His gaze was fixed on Tang Gua's face, as if he was observing how this game character would react. For example, would she be confused or understand what he said? Tang Gua suddenly understood. This guy had said so much because he wanted to trigger the hidden attribute of her game character. Hubby. Tang Gua's voice suddenly stretched out. Her sweet and delicate tone softened Feng Ming's heart. If he had such an obedient and sweet-sounding wife every day, it would not be a pity if he could not go out. Hubby, do you mean that we will live together for the rest of our lives and become a real husband and wife? Feng Ming's face was tense as he tried to make himself look normal. Yes, we are husband and wife. Shouldn't we live together for the rest of our lives? That's what I should do. I'm willing to be with my husband forever. Tang Guo revealed a sweet smile. Then, husband, what kind of me do you like? The pure and shy type, or the enchanting type? I have many attributes. Tang Guo smiled deeply. Of course, all the attributes can be changed at will. There's nothing that you can't think of. Feng Ming was stunned and did not react for a moment. This game character's attributes could be changed at will, and it wouldn't change once it was selected. Tang Guo held his hand. First, she lowered her head and smiled. When she raised her head again, she had already revealed an extremely charming expression to him. This is called the enchanting type. Hubby, do you like it? Feng Ming was a little dumbfounded. Was this really possible? But as long as it was her, he actually liked it. But this kind of charming appearance really made him like it very much. While Feng Ming was still in a daze, the smile on Tang Guo's face disappeared and was replaced by a shy expression. She pushed Feng Ming away, looking shy and cute. She stole a glance at Feng Ming and carefully moved closer to him. Feng Ming was completely speechless. This must be the pure and shy type. What should he do? He was actually tempted by a game character. Fortunately, he was already dead and only his brain waves were left. His excitement would not burden his heart. That obedient, shy, and sweet girl gently moved into his arms and leaned close to his face. Like a dragonfly skimming the surface of the water, she lightly kissed him. Just as he was about to make love to her, she suddenly jumped away. She stood there and stole glances at him. Her pair of watery eyes melted his heart. Guogua, come here, Feng Ming shouted. Tang Guo smiled. Hubby, what style do you choose? I choose both. Can I? Of course. Tang Guo smiled and threw herself into his arms. At this moment, the door was pushed open. Chapter 770. Feng Ming froze. Tang Guo smiled. Of course, she knew who the intruder was. It could only be Feng Yu's game character. Feng Ming gently let go of her and helped her up. When he saw the player, who had rushed in, his face darkened. The good atmosphere was ruined by this guy. He hugged Tang Guo tightly in his arms. These players did not have good intentions. All of them wanted to snatch his bride away. Bride. Feng Yu's game character came in front of the two of them and spoke directly to Tang Guo. I'm here to save you. Come with me. At the same time, Feng Yu sat in front of the computer and stared at the game interface. When Tang Guo was in the game, there was almost no difference between the character in the game and the character in real life. However, when Feng Yu looked at the character in the game in real life, it was just an ordinary game character. He could not recognize what she looked like. If he did not pay close attention, it would be difficult to associate her game character's face with her appearance. Therefore, when Feng Yu saw the bride appear, he was not very surprised. He was only confirming what was wrong with the bride's data. It was just as he had guessed. The bride was not a game character, but Tang Guo's brain waves. When the words appeared above his game character's head, he stared nervously at the bride's head, waiting for what he wanted to happen. Who are you? Why should I go with you? Tang Guo still answered according to her thoughts. Are you also here to separate me and my husband? When Feng Yu saw this sentence, he frowned. Wasn't this Xiao Guo? How could this reaction be Xiao Guo? Was there really an uncontrollable abnormality in the bride's data that even he did not notice? Was that why the character design was different? He's a zombie. You're human. You can't be together. Come with me. I'll take you home. Tang Guo curled her lips impatiently. Everyone wants to separate me and my husband. She held Feng Yu's arm and said sweetly, my husband, can you throw him out? We still have unfinished business. This guy will definitely come again and again. Tie him up and whip him hard. Feng Yu was in complete disbelief. His game's positive character had actually collapsed, and he had even come up with such a crooked idea. He was simply more of a villain than a villain. The problem was, he had never added any hidden attributes to the bride. Where did she learn these words? After pondering for a long time, Feng Yu decided to change the data of the players. He only changed one point, allowing the players to organize their own language to converse with the bride. Perhaps this way, they could find out if she was a game boss or brainwave. Seeing his character being whipped by the zombie, Feng Yu didn't react at all. Fortunately, he had brought everything he needed. Sitting in this small cubicle, he began to change the data. Xia Yi looked at the string of words that she didn't understand and asked in confusion, what are you doing? Change the data. Perhaps it was this new discovery that made Feng Yu in a good mood. While he was busy, he answered Xia Yi's question. Xia Yi curled her lips. Is it important? Should we finish our meal first before we do this? Since she had a body, they had never gone out to eat. Xia Yi suddenly realized. If you're hungry, order takeout, Feng Yu said emotionlessly, immediately dispelling Xia Yi's enthusiasm. Chapter 771. 2 hours later, Feng Yu started the game that had changed the data. When the game was loading, he turned back to look at Xia Yi, who was eating snacks. Seeing that he was done, Xia Yi pointed at the takeout box and said, your meal is here. After that, Xia Yi continued to eat her snacks while watching the video and laughing happily. Feng Yu didn't say anything. He walked over and took the takeout box. He tried to eat it, but it was cold and not delicious. He frowned and looked up at Xia Yi, who was watching the video happily and eating her snacks. He swallowed the food that was hard to swallow. His eyes were a little hot. He thought of the delicious food that he had eaten every day for the past few months. He took the insulated box from Xiaoguo. It was always warm. If he was that busy, she would not have casually ordered takeout for him. Moreover, the takeout had been left there for almost 2 hours. It was already cold. Xiaoguo would never let him eat cold and bad food. She would definitely go into the kitchen and cook a delicious meal. When he was so busy, she would carefully prepare coffee and water for him. She took care of him in every possible way. Xiaoguo, she was really a very gentle girl. Why did he only want to give his body to Xia Yi in the past and didn't notice her good side? Xiaoguo was so good to him. Why did he take her body and hurt her so cruelly? Feng Yu ate the rice. A tear fell from the corner of his eye. The tear dripped into the food and was eaten by him. When the cold food entered his stomach, he felt a little uncomfortable. He pressed his stomach and smiled bitterly. He was a little disappointed. Ever since Xiaoguo had gone missing, he hadn't eaten on time for a long time. It had also been a long time since he had drunk the most fragrant and delicious coffee. Every morning, that beautiful and sweet girl would not be standing downstairs of the phone corporation, holding a thermos and waiting for him against the wind. When she saw him, she would call out, you, hurry up. It's time to eat. When he got off work, she would occasionally wake up from the sofa. She would rub her eyes and ask him, are you off work? When he came home at night, he would always receive a message from her. Are you home? After coming out of the bathroom, he lay on the bed and received another message from her. Good night. When Feng Yu thought of this, she choked up a little. She turned around and glanced at Xia Yi, who was dressed beautifully, but her sitting posture was very rude. Because she was very excited to play the game, her face, which was supposed to have a sweet smile, was making strange and inelegant expressions. Little Yi. Ah. Xia Yi raised her head and quickly lowered it again. You, what do you want to say? Say it. I'm listening. Feng Yu took a deep breath. Can you pay attention to your image? If someone sees you, your identity will be suspected. Hearing that she was going to be suspected, Xia Yi even forgot to play the game. She quickly closed her legs and the weird expression disappeared. There was only a little fear on her face. I forgot. She quickly reacted. That's not right, you. We're at home. There's no one else here. Since we're at home, we should be more at ease. Why do we have to pretend to be a lady? You know that I'm not a lady. Feng Yu suppressed the discomfort in her heart and didn't say that he wasn't using his own body. Anyway, just be careful. If you get suspected, I can't help you. Perhaps Xia Yi could hear the coldness in Feng Yu's voice. She stopped playing the game and asked, how's the modification of the data? Chapter 772. I've already changed it. Thinking about the data he had changed, he also forgot that Xia Yi's behavior and sitting posture would ruin her beautiful body. He hurriedly sat in front of the computer and looked at the game that had already been loaded. He controlled the game character and slowly ran towards the zombie town. Tang Guo and Feng Ming appeared in the new zombie bride game at the same time. Tang Guo knew the cause and effect, but Feng Ming didn't. He was suspicious of the sudden change of environment. However, he still didn't forget to hug his bride. For the first time, he had the idea of breaking these games and even controlling them. He was a little afraid that the next time they appeared in a new setting, his bride might not be by his side. Where should he go to find her when he was in the dark? Ah Ming, what are you thinking about? Feng Ming replied, do you know who those people who always come in and want to break us up are? I know. They're bad people. Feng Ming shook his head and smiled. He stroked Tang Guo's head and said, actually, you're just a string of data. Maybe you don't understand, but I still want to tell you that there shouldn't be any secrets between husband and wife. Tang Guo, data. Ha. You were created by them. I'm very afraid that they'll make the decision to destroy you. If that happens, I'll never see you again. Tang Guo held back her laughter and asked, Ah Ming, aren't you just data? Although I really want to tell you that I really am not. When Feng Ming said this, he was very cautious. He held Tang Guo's face and kissed her forehead. I should be considered a brainwave. Maybe you still don't understand, but I just want to tell you the truth. Tang Guo nodded her head. Ah Ming, are you saying that you should be the same as those people outside? Feng Ming smiled and nodded. Yes, I was one of them. Then why is Ah Ming here? Tang Guo asked curiously. Feng Ming smiled bitterly. I've been very interested in games since I was young. When I was sensible, I designed games according to my own ideas in the Feng Corporation. I was born with a talent in this aspect. Other people spent 10 years, but I only needed half a year to study it. Later, I saw the holographic online game in the novel and began to research the concept of holographic online games. Eventually, I succeeded in my research. Tang Guo was slightly surprised. So the era of holographic games was actually started by Feng Ming. At that time, I was so happy that I didn't even have time to do many safety tests. I first asked the manufacturer to produce a full-range gaming chamber according to my requirements. Then, I matched a game for myself and secretly tried it. He didn't expect to get himself involved. Then, I lost consciousness. When I woke up again, it was right before I met you. I felt that something was very wrong with my surroundings. I kept feeling that I had been activated by something. Later on, I realized that this was a game. In the end, I found the Phone Corporation's logo in the game and realized that this was a horror game designed by the Phone Corporation's members. System, great host, I've found him. Feng Ming, a genius game designer. He's the younger brother of the Phone Corporation CEO. In terms of seniority, he should be Feng Yu's uncle. The public's evaluation of him was that he was born for the game and died for the game. Tang Gua nodded and smiled. Feng Yu's uncle was interesting. This was the first time she had heard of a game designer killing himself while trying to play a game. Then why did Ah Ming tell me this? Bang! Tang Gua turned around and looked at the person who had rushed in. Bride. Feng Yu controlled the game character to come in front of Tang Gua. The game character stood in front of Tang Gua and asked excitedly, "What's your name?" Chapter 773. Bride, what's your name? After waiting for 10 seconds, the bride's head did not appear to answer his question. Unable to wait any longer, he asked again, "Tell me." Xia Yi sat next to the computer. She did not understand why Feng Yu was so agitated and anxious. It was as if the bride was very important to him. Just as Xia Yi thought that Feng Yu valued the game, a thought flashed through her mind. She stared at the bride's game character with her eyes wide open. She was both shocked and frightened. To be able to make Feng Yu take this seriously and seriously confirm the name of a game character, this bride can't be the owner of this body, Tang Gua, right? Xia Yi did not dare to think further. From the looks of it, Feng Yu was definitely going to bring Tang Gua out. Would she return to the computer and become the poor girl's brain waves? If it had been the first few days, Xia Yi might not have hesitated. After all, this was not her body and it was not a big deal to return it. However, she had already owned this body for more than a month. She had gotten used to it and enjoyed everything about it. Even the other party's hobbies overlapped with hers. Although she had been tortured by the game character a few days ago, she still enjoyed playing games and live streaming. She enjoyed being watched by millions of fans on the internet. Xia Yi bit her lip as she carefully tugged at Feng Yu's sleeve. He did not turn around. Is there something wrong with this bride?" she asked softly. Feng Yu did not answer Xia Yi's question. Instead, he stared at the bride's head, hoping that the words he wanted would appear. Could she be Tang Gua's brain waves? Xia Yi continued to ask. She was panicking as she grabbed onto Feng Yu's sleeve. "Are you going to find her and send me back to the computer?" This time, Feng Yu finally paid attention to her. "Of course, little Yi. You have taken over her body. Of course, you have to return it to Xiaogua. Don't worry. When she returns, I won't leave you alone. I will find a suitable body for you." This time, he would not make the same decision as before. He would not find an innocent person just to take over Xia Yi's body. When he had lost Xiaogua, he had also learned many things. His merciless actions would only bring endless pain to the person who had lost it. He had never expected that he would be the one who would suffer the most. If he could turn back time, he would definitely not use the same method to deceive and hurt Xiaogua. Even if he wanted Xiao Yi to come out, he would choose another method instead of an innocent person. Feng Yu's heart was filled with bitterness. He understood his selfishness, but the price he had to pay for it was too great. Xia Yi felt a chill in her heart. She looked at Feng Yu's pained expression and finally realized something terrible. Her voice was trembling and sharp. You like her. You like her, don't you? Xia Yi grabbed Feng Yu's arm hard and shook it. She kept asking, You like her, like this girl named Tang Guo, right? I finally understand. You want to find her not because she's just your friend. Most importantly, you like her. Feng Yu's expression changed. He pushed Xia Yi's hand away and looked at her seriously. Yes, I like her. He liked her very much. After losing her, he felt as if he had lost half of his heart. What about me? Xia Yi almost lost her voice. Then what am I? Chapter 774. Faced with Xia Yi's question, Feng Yu remained calm. I'm sorry. So, you don't like me anymore and you're only going to apologize to me? When did you guys start dating? Xia Yi could not accept this. She believed that having a boyfriend like Feng Yu was the luckiest and happiest thing in her life. They had been through a lot together. In those few years, she was the only one who stayed by his side until late at night. How could he stop liking her just like that? Feng Yu patted Xia Yi's shoulder. When Xiaoguo is released, I won't give up on finding a suitable body for you. Little Yi, I will bring you out. This is my promise to you and it will never change. But you also promised me that we would get married once I'm released. Xia Yi bit her lip. Why can this promise be changed? Right then, a sentence appeared above the bride's head on the computer screen, attracting the attention of both of them. My name is Tang Guo. Who are you? Feng Yu almost burst into tears when he saw this sentence. He subconsciously pushed Xia Yi away and quickly put his hands on the keyboard to type out what he wanted to say. Xiaoguo. Xiaoguo. Is that you? I'm Feng Yu. Xiaoguo, I've been looking for you for a long time. I'm Feng Yu. Do you remember? I'm Feng Yu, your boyfriend. You have to bring me lunch every day and accompany me to work in the afternoon. At night, we'll go to the restaurant for dinner. When I get home, you'll send me a message to ask if I'm home. You'll also send me a goodnight message before you go to bed. There had never been a day when he left. Xia Yi looked at Feng Yu's anxious expression and reddened eyes. He was so touched that he almost shed tears. She finally confirmed that he really loved the owner of this body deeply. Feng Yu was very emotional. When he designed this game, the bride's name was not Tang Guo. She said that her name was Tang Guo. She could only be Tang Guo. As long as she was Tang Guo, all the abnormalities in the game could be explained. There was another person who was extremely shocked. When Feng Ming heard the words of the player who had accidentally intruded, his facial expression changed. Feng Yu. Feng Yu. He hugged his bride tightly, looking more and more puzzled. If he remembered correctly, his elder brother's son should be called Feng Yu. He was currently in the game and did not know how much time had passed in the real world. He only knew that Feng Yu was in her 3rd year of high school when he got into trouble. Feng Yu was 6 years younger than him, but she did have a unique understanding of games since she was young. From the words just now, he analyzed it. The person Feng Yu was asking about was his bride, Tang Guo. He was so anxious and agitated, saying that she was his girlfriend. Was he here to look for her? He even said so much about the interaction between the two, which made him feel especially uncomfortable. Hold on, did he overlook something? His bride was not a character in the game, but a real person. Feng Ming lowered his head and glanced at his sweet and obedient bride. He held her waist tightly and lowered his head to ask in her ear, Guo Guo, are you human? These words were not displayed on the computer interface. From Feng Yu's point of view, she could not see the interaction between the two. I told you a long time ago. Tang Guo laughed softly. She had told him a long time ago, but he did not believe her. Could he blame her? Feng Ming could not help but kiss her cheek. He laughed softly and said, "That's really good." It turned out that he liked a person who had the same brainwaves as him, not a character in the game. Chapter 775. He suddenly felt that their brilliant life had just begun. They could still be together for a long, long time. It was really great. All his regrets were gone. He said he's your boyfriend. Feng Ming didn't ignore this point, but his bride didn't seem to have much feelings for Feng Yu. Tang Gua nodded. I'll explain it to you later. Okay. He believed in his lover. From the moment they met, she had attracted his attention. When he found out that she had human brainwaves, he knew that all of this was not simple. Compared to hearing rumors, he was more willing to hear her say it with his own ears. He would believe whatever she said. Tang Guo was very satisfied. She looked at Feng Yu's game character with a confused expression. Are you Feng Yu? I'm sorry, I don't know you, and I don't remember anything between us. Feng Ming was a little surprised. His guess was right. There must be some unknown secret. Xiaogua, how could you not remember me? When Feng Yu saw this sentence, he almost collapsed. Xiaogua, who had been so good to him, how could she not remember him? How was that possible? He scratched his hair hard and continued to tap on the keyboard. His eyes were red as he stared at the bride's character on the game interface. My name is Feng Yu. We're boyfriend and girlfriend. You like me very much, and I like you very much too. We're very loving. Before you got into trouble, you even ordered a cake for me. There was a sentence written on it that I'll never forget. That sentence was, liking you is more passionate than liking games. Feng Yu's eyes were sore. We've known each other since the game. A few months ago, whether we were dating or eating, our conversation was always about games. When you came to me, you always asked if there were any new games, and when I came to you, I also asked you how the new game experience was. Later, you said that you seemed to like me even more and even changed the live broadcast time for me. You changed the original 8 hours to 4 hours. Before this, I never knew that you could cook delicious food, make fragrant coffee, and wake up so regularly. Since the day you first came to the Feng's building, I could eat the hot food you made for lunch every day, and my stomach rarely acted up. You said that my taste wasn't good, but you specially chose a lot of clothes and accessories for me. You have a house full of them, and I have a house full of them. They were all chosen by you. This watch on my wrist is a birthday gift from you. I've been wearing it, and I've been waiting for you to appear. Feng Yu's eyes were hot, and tears unknowingly rolled down her cheeks. Ever since your accident, I seem to have forgotten that I need to eat every meal. I wake up several times at night, and my stomach is in pain. When I opened the drawer, I realized that the stomach medicine you prepared for me was finished last week. Xiao Guo was so good. Why had he been so cruel to her in the past? Hearing all this, Xia Yi was a little stunned. So much had happened between them. The girl named Tang Guo was indeed very good to Ah Yu. It was no wonder that Ah Yu liked her. Xiao Guo, do you still remember all of this? Tang Guo shook her head. I don't remember. Xiao Guo. Feng Yu controlled the game character and rushed in front of Tang Guo. Because he had changed the data, the game character had become very agile. Don't be afraid. I'm here to take you away. I'm here to take you out. No, I'm not leaving. Tang Guo hurriedly hugged Feng Ming's arm and suddenly understood. I understand. You're a bad person who knows how to make up stories. You're also here to break me and my husband up. Feng Ming, he also understood. His wife didn't care about her life when she messed with people. Chapter 776. Husband, quickly drag this bad guy out and whip him. Tang Guo hugged Feng Ming's arm and said, these bad guys always like to break you and me up. Feng Yu wanted to say something, but many zombies rushed in from outside the door and grabbed his game character. They tied him to a tall pillar and whipped him fiercely with whips dipped in salt water. Feng Yu looked at the computer interface in a daze. His mind was filled with the thought that Xiao Guo didn't remember. She didn't remember everything that once belonged to them. She treated the zombie king in the game as her husband and said those words of dependence. His heart was broken. Feng Yu was stunned for a long time. Finally, he decided to destroy the zombie king and zombie town. No matter what, he had to bring Xiao Guo out. His fingers danced on the keyboard. Even if the company had urgent matters related to holographic games, he said that he was not free for the time being and asked them to stop the project. The most important thing now was to find his Xiao Guo. This time, he would not lose her again. He wanted to reset the game, but he realized that he still could not reset it. He was afraid that there would be problems if he forcefully reset it, so he simply copied the original version and changed the data like before. He found a pattern. As long as the game was started, Xiao Guo would appear in the new game. Tang Guo saw everything Feng Yu did through the computer and laughed softly. Naive. From the day she decided to enter the game, she had never thought of going out. She wanted Feng Yu to know of her existence. She was clearly within his reach, but he could not achieve what he wanted no matter what. She wanted him to live in guilt and pain forever. These few days, Feng Yu was immersed in changing the game data. He even had a bold idea. He wanted to destroy the zombie king and let himself replace the zombie king to slowly gain Xiao Guo's trust. Then, he would think of a way to bring her out. When he was hungry, he would order takeout. When he was thirsty, he would find something to drink. When he really did not have time, he would go directly to the tap to drink tap water. Xia Yi sat at the side with a numb expression. She sent an announcement to the live stream that she had something to do and would not be live streaming for the next few days. She also sat at the side and watched Feng Yu go crazy. She had seen Feng Yu busy at work, but she had never seen him like this. In order to achieve his goal, he did not care about anything. She had to confirm that Feng Yu really liked that girl named Tang Guo. Looking at Feng Yu's smile, Xia Yi broke out in a cold sweat. At first, she thought that Feng Yu liked Tang Guo too much. One day, when she accidentally overheard Feng Yu's words, she was so scared that she broke out in a cold sweat. Xiao Guo, I'll definitely bring you out this time. I won't hurt you anymore, okay? I'm sorry, Xiao Guo. If I had known that you were so important to me, I wouldn't have devised this scheme to take your body away. Xia Yi widened her eyes and couldn't help but take a few steps back. Her heart was thumping and her mind was blank as if it had exploded. It took her a long time to come back to her senses. She looked at Feng Yu's back with lingering fear. So what happened last time was not an accident. Was it Ah Yu's plan? I don't know either. In this scheme of love, I succeeded in achieving my goal, but in the end, I was a failure. Feng Yu seemed to have forgotten Xia Yi's existence. As he wrote the code, he recalled the past between him and Tang Guo. Unconsciously, he said everything that he had planned from the beginning. I'll return your body to you. When you're better, we'll go see uncle and auntie and confirm the wedding. Chapter 777. My mother has asked about you several times already. I don't even know how to tell her. Xia Yi felt a chill down her spine. As for little Yi, we'll think of something. I won't do anything to hurt others. Xia Yi's heart sank. If she did not have a suitable body, she would forever be a brainwave without a body. Would she have to stay in the computer until she died? She pursed her lips as she looked at Feng Yu's crazy expression. Finally, she decided to leave. She turned around and returned to her room to grab her card, phone, and identification card. Finally, she saw the pile of expensive jewelry. Gritting her teeth, she quickly put some of them into her bag. She did not want to become a brainwave again. She did not know what she would experience. She wanted to leave this place. As long as she left this place, Feng Yu would not be able to find her. This body would then belong to her. Tang Guo had already taken Feng Yu away. This body was given to her by Feng Yu. She did not know anything. Why should she bear the consequences? Previously, Feng Yu had mentioned to her that he wanted to take over other people's bodies. However, she had rejected him. Therefore, she did not have to take responsibility for this. Why should she take responsibility? She was the one who had lost the most. It turned out that Feng Yu liked her so much. When Feng Yu was not paying attention, Xia Yi gently opened the door and left. That's the truth. Tang Guo asked the system to show Feng Ming the scene in Feng Yu's room, as well as what he had said. Since they were both members of the Feng family, it was necessary for her to tell him. She thought that Feng Ming was quite cute. Even if Feng Yu was his nephew, she would still torture him. She would never be soft-hearted towards her enemies. If Feng Ming still wanted to plead for mercy after hearing this, she would have to throw him into the bin. Dear host, Xia Yi has run away. The system had been monitoring the outside world. He had seen Xia Yi run away with his own eyes. Feeling a little indignant, he wondered if he should remind Feng Yu. He would definitely catch Xia Yi. Tang Guo smiled. There's no need to remind him. Feng Yu will catch her when he realizes what happened. Let them hurt each other. It's none of my business. Feng Ming glanced at his bride's smiling face and suddenly felt a chill on his back. He quickly hugged her. Guo Guo has suffered. Do you still like him? Feng Ming asked uncertainly. Was that nephew with a hole in his brain really his biological nephew? Tang Guo shook her head. Why would I like him? Is there something wrong with my brain, or was it eaten by zombies? Does Guo Guo like me? Feng Ming asked expectantly. According to the current timeline, my accident happened many years ago. My body has long been destroyed, and I will never be able to leave. But Guo Guo's body is still here. If she wanted to go out, he really could not stop her. Just based on the fact that Tang Guo could easily show him what was going on outside, this bride of his was not simple. Do you want me to go out? Of course not. Feng Ming hurriedly said, but Guo Guo wants to return to reality. I can't stop you, even though I really want to. You're so obedient. Tang Guo was in a good mood. Since you're so obedient, I won't go out. Tang Guo smiled and said, the online world is actually not bad. She did not hide it. I didn't plan to go out from the beginning, but I didn't expect to meet you. Chapter 778. Feng Ming was overjoyed and quickly hugged his wife. Then I'll accompany Guo Guo to play in this online world forever. How does that sound? Okay. How does Guo Guo want to deal with that brat? Feng Ming's hands were itching. If possible, he wanted to beat Feng Yu up. Tang Guo stopped smiling and looked at Feng Yu, who was still coding crazily. She chuckled. Can't get what you want. Isn't that the worst outcome? Not only do I want him to not get what he wants, I want him to see us being lovey-dovey, getting married, and being together forever. She looked up at Feng Ming with a smile. Ah, Ming, don't you think this is cruel? No, it's not cruel at all. He deserves it. Ah Ming, you mean that you'll support me no matter what I want to do? Tang Gui changed the topic. Why are you so unprincipled? Feng Ming hugged her happily and kissed her forehead. His eyes were full of smiles. How can principles be more important than a wife? I'll have more in the future. If I don't have a wife, I won't be able to find one. Of course, he would support his wife no matter what she wanted to do. Looking at how happy she was, his mind was filled with thoughts of following her in everything. He would listen to whatever she wanted to do. In front of her, he was willing to hold her in the most dazzling place and watch her shine. If she was a star, he would never be the moon. He wanted to be the dark sky that surrounded her tightly and let her feel his presence at all times. System, it's still that familiar soul. First, he sold his own brother, and now he's selling his own nephew. He's the same kind of person as his great host. Such an unprincipled person, he really liked porridge, Especially when he saw the energy increase, the system felt that everything was bright. Following the great host was indeed a good thing. Xia Yi took everything that she could and quickly left the city that she was not familiar with. She chose a remote place. She knew that Feng Yu came from a good family and that he was just doing game design and development as a hobby. It was easy for a rich young master like him to find someone. Along the way, she changed many things and finally came to a small town. It was impossible to rent a house quickly and use her original account to live stream. She didn't know how to do anything else. She was even more unwilling to be a waitress or wash dishes. She could only live stream games. She bought the equipment and went to the live stream platform to start her new life. However, everything was different from what she had imagined. She was a new streamer, and there weren't many people watching her. She couldn't enjoy the glory she had before, and the rewards she received every day were unimaginable. After a few days, she was a little. When he was tidying up the house, he found that she had brought a lot of gems, diamond necklaces, and gold jewelry. Thinking that there should still be a few million in the card, he felt even more relieved. For this reason, she specially took a bus to a faraway city the next day. It took her 2 days to withdraw the cash from there and then came back here. She thought that she didn't spend much, so the money should be enough to last her for a while. But she was used to using luxurious things in that luxurious house. When she went shopping, she couldn't help but buy expensive things. Within a year, she had to go out to withdraw cash several times. One day, she put the card into the ATM. She didn't look at the amount. After she entered a number, the interface reminded her that the balance was insufficient. She was stunned and quickly checked the amount. She panicked when she found that there were only a few hundred yuan. How could it be? She remembered that there were a few million yuan in it. Chapter 779. Why are there only a few hundred yuan left? Xia Yi was deeply confused. She was sure that she couldn't have spent all the money in the past year. She could only have 300,000 to 500,000 yuan at most. Feng Yu hadn't found her after so long. Maybe Feng Yu was still studying the game and couldn't take care of her. So, Xia Yi decided to go to the bank to check the account and see where the money was going. When she found out that she had donated hundreds of thousand yuan to the Welfare Institute every month for the past year, she felt terrible. She heard the lady at the counter praising her. She thought that she had come to ask because she didn't transfer the money. Xia Yi felt aggrieved. She didn't know that Tang Guo donated hundreds of thousand yuan to the Welfare Institute every month. Rich people were so bored that they didn't know the suffering of poor people. She didn't know what these rich people were thinking. Why did they have to donate so much money? Xia Yi felt indignant. In the end, she could only go back in disappointment. She had no cash in hand, so she could only sell the valuables slowly. Diamonds and gems were not easy to sell. She couldn't estimate their value. She could only go to the gold shop to sell the gold jewelry first. She also asked if they accepted gems and diamonds. The shop clearly said that they didn't. Xia Yi regretted it at that time. If she had taken a bag of gold jewelry, her life would have been much better. At that time, she left in a hurry. When she opened the jewelry box, the gold jewelry was obviously not as eye-catching as gems and diamonds. She chose to take a lot of them, so there were very few gold jewelry. Because of this, Xia Yi had to reduce her food and clothing. She was used to living a luxurious life, so she felt uncomfortable after a few days. She had to start thinking of ways to sell the diamond necklaces and gems. As for Feng Yu, by the time he realized what had happened, Xia Yi had already disappeared. He couldn't find Xia Yi in a short time, so he could only send someone to keep an eye on her. She will show up one day. Feng Yu sat on the chair. His face was pale and his beard was unkempt. The only neat thing about him was his decent suit and tie. The expensive watch on his wrist looked brand new. Now, he didn't even touch it. He was afraid that he would break it and it wouldn't look good. She's not used to the outside life. Feng Yu said with a sinister smile, once those jewels show up, we'll be able to find her location. Keep an eye out for her and bring her back when you find her. Remember, Feng Yu's sinister smile disappeared and her expression became incomparably gentle. Don't hurt her, especially her body. You can't leave a single mark and you can't forcefully pinch her wrist. Understood. When Feng Yu was the only one left in the office, he logged into the game as a player and looked for opportunities to talk to Tanguo. Originally, he wanted to eliminate the Zombie King and replace him with himself. He didn't expect that after he erased the Zombie King's data, the other party would still appear in the end. He didn't know where the problem was, but now he could only take a step back and go to the game every day to meet Xiao Guo. When he entered the game, Tang Guo was watching the zombies play. She sat on the doorstep and nibbled on a chicken drumstick. She looked cute and beautiful. No matter what she ate or did, there was a sense of beauty. Feng Yu thought to herself. She was even more determined to find Xiao Guo's body and not let Xia Yi ruin it. Chapter 780. Xiao Guo. He couldn't see the bride's expression, but he could imagine what kind of expression she should have. Do you remember everything that happened between us today? His game character was also sitting by the side, and this sentence appeared above his head. Tang Guo glanced at Feng Yu, who was in pain. This game was very strange. The game character could completely show Feng Yu's painful expression. It was really interesting. No. Tang Guo glanced at him. You should go. My husband will be angry later. He will tie you up and whip you with salt water. Xiao Guo, do you want to go out with me? When you go out, everything will be clear. Why should I go out? Tang Guo blinked. You want me to go out? Then let me ask you, how did I get in? This question made Feng Yu's heart stop. How did she get in? It was all because of his scheme. It was because he wanted to take her body and devised a vicious scheme. He really didn't expect that he would fall in love with her. After losing her, he lived in pain every day. You were trying out the game cabin. That's why you got into trouble. Feng Yu had to lie. If she knew that everything was a scheme, she wouldn't have gone with him. He could only take her out first. The rest could be explained later. At that time, she could do whatever she wanted. He was willing to use his life to make up for the hurt he had caused her. Tang Guo saw through his thoughts. She lowered her eyes and chuckled. make up for it. How? The person who should die was still dead. The person who should disappear had disappeared long ago. Hurt was hurt. Even if it was repaired, there was still a fist-sized scar on his heart. How could it be the same as before? If she hadn't shown her love for Feng Yu and cared for him at all costs, how could he have realized that everything he did was hurting someone? If he hadn't known that Tang Guo liked him very much and hadn't experienced her gentle care, he wouldn't have been so disappointed after suddenly losing her. He had been immersed in happiness for months. If Tang Guo wasn't important to him, he would only be happy that Xia Yi had woken up. Even though he had already fallen in love with her, he struggled and hesitated in his heart. In the end, because she was a living person and far less pitiful than Xia Yi, who was just a brainwave, he still did it without hesitation. Feng Yu was only satisfied with the selfishness in his heart. He had never considered the feelings of others. Now he wanted to take her out only because she was important to him and he had already fallen in love with her. In other words, he suddenly realized that he had personally destroyed the most beautiful thing he owned. He believed that no one would not regret it. The better she was, the more Xia Yi's flaws would be magnified in front of him. In the past, no matter how good Xia Yi was, it couldn't compare to the good he had lost. Wretched wretches should live in pain for the rest of their lives because of the mistakes they made. Such people did not deserve happiness and forgiveness. Why should I be with you just because you wanted to make it up to me after you hurt me and fell in love with me? How could there be such an easy thing? Feng Ming walked over from afar and saw Feng Ming flirting with his wife again. Although Feng Yu was his nephew, he still wanted to beat him up. He walked over and lifted Feng Yu's game character without saying a word. He beat him up and threw him to the zombies to let them bite Feng Yu to death. Chapter 781. Feng Yu sat in front of the computer helplessly and saw the words, "Game failed," on the screen. Perhaps he should have promoted the holographic game earlier and used the gaming capsule to meet Xiao Guo. Feng Yu was a man of action. He returned to the company that day and restarted the holographic game, a project that had been stagnant for almost a year. Because of his decision, the Feng Corporation suffered a lot of losses. However, the game was only a part of the Feng Corporation. The CEO and his wife thought that something had happened to Feng Yu and didn't care about it. How could the game be more important than their son? Especially after what happened to Feng Ming, they didn't dare to let the same thing happen to Feng Yu. This time, the whole company was very happy with Feng Yu's return. Originally, everything was almost ready the last time. This time, it took a month for them to test the security of the gaming capsule. Then, they spent another 2 months to fix the problem of the game's connection. Next, it was to promote its use and attract a large number of players who were willing to participate in the closed beta. In the end, the response was very good. Half a year later, the Feng Corporation's gaming capsule went on sale all over the country. The world began to enter the holographic era. Following that, countless games began to connect with the Feng Corporation and released new games. Because of this, the Feng Corporation became the biggest winner. Everyone was happy, but only Feng Yu was unhappy. Until one day, the person he sent to find Xia Yi called and said that he found traces of the gemstones in a jewelry store. He had found Xia Yi and was bringing her back. "Bring her to my villa on the mountain. Don't tell anyone." Feng Yu's eyes darkened, especially when he saw Xia Yi's pale and thin face in the photo. He was furious. How could she? How could she treat Xiao Guo's perfect body like this? This time, he would not let Xia Yi escape. He would protect Xiao Guo's body well for her and not let anyone hurt it. Not long after, Xia Yi was brought to the villa on the mountain. After Feng Yu finished the game project, he took a break for himself and no one suspected anything. On the day Xia Yi was brought back, he moved into the villa. When Xia Yi was caught, she was extremely panicked. She was afraid of losing this body. She really liked the feeling of having a body. She didn't want to be a brainwave again. She didn't want to go back to the computer, as if it was just a string of data. After being locked up in the villa, she had been thinking of ways to escape, but Feng Yu was already prepared. Firstly, she had no ability, and secondly, she had no intelligence. How could she escape? It should be said that if it wasn't for the card and the jewelry, it would have been difficult for her to survive in this world. When Feng Yu opened the door, she saw Xia Yi shivering in the corner with her arms around her knees. "Little Yi, why did you leave without saying a word?" Lin Yiqian asked. Feng Yu walked in front of Xia Yi and asked with a gentle smile. Her cold fingers pinched Xia Yi's chin. "You've lost weight." Xia Yi's heart was cold. Looking into Feng Yu's gentle eyes, she didn't think that Feng Yu cared about her. She only felt goosebumps all over her body. "Your face is so pale. You must have had a hard time recently, right?" Xia Yi trembled all over. She didn't understand what Feng Yu wanted to do. "Little Yi, this body does not belong to you. You can't do as you please. From now on, I hope that you will eat your meals obediently and take good care of your body. It would be best if your body could return to its original state within a month." Feng Yu let go of Xia Yi's chin and chuckled. "I've already developed a method that only punishes brain waves without harming the body. You don't want to experience it, do you?" Chapter 782. Xia Yi resisted in her heart. She knew that Feng Yu didn't expel her brainwaves for the time being to prevent this body from being damaged. A body without brainwaves might die. Even if it didn't die, it would only become a vegetable. After being in a vegetative state for too long, the body's functions would gradually deteriorate. Even if she didn't study much, she still knew this. Many years ago, there was a case of a vegetative person waking up on TV. Therefore, Feng Yu didn't care about her at all. It wasn't that he didn't have the heart to expel her brainwaves, but that he wanted her to live well in this body. She didn't want to cooperate. Why should she take care of someone else's body? She didn't take over this body by force. She could only blame Feng Yu. If he hadn't done this behind her back, would so many things have happened? She was a victim. If she hadn't come out from the beginning, she wouldn't have been greedy for the beauty of this body. She was just forced to accept it. Now, she had become a sinner. Therefore, she wanted to resist. Feng Yu wanted her to take good care of her body, but she didn't. After Feng Yu left, she pinched herself hard and banged her head against the wall with all her might, trying to injure herself all over. Feng Yu didn't want her to have a good life. She wouldn't let him have his way. Xia Yi, who was hurting herself, couldn't help but cry. Who did she offend? Why did she have to suffer this? Feng Yu liked her so much. Why was he so cruel to her now? He was the one who brought her out. If it weren't for him, she wouldn't be here. She was angry, wronged, and sad. Her heart was full of revenge. She wanted to destroy this body so that Feng Yu would never be able to do what he wanted. When Feng Yu came to see Xia Yi for the second time, his eyes turned red when he saw her bruised body. He walked over and pinched Xia Yi's chin hard. He wanted to slap her. Xia Yi opened her eyes and said sarcastically, "Hit me. Anyway, this isn't my body. Hit me hard. If you hurt me, I deserve it." "Very good." Feng Yu gently let go of Xia Yi. He touched her cheek and carried her out. He took her to a room and put her on a strange chair. "I said that if you don't listen to me, you'll be punished." Feng Yu's smile was a bit morbid, gloomy and scary. Finally, Xia panicked. No, let go of me. Feng Yu, what you're doing is harming her body. Feng Yu looked at the restrained Xia, who was still struggling. She shook the remote control in her hand, walked over to her, and squatted down. How could I bear to hurt Xiaoguo's body? Before she comes back, I will take good care of her body and make sure she doesn't get hurt at all. Little Yi, I didn't want to hurt you at first. However, you're being too naughty. Smiling, Feng Yu pressed the button of the remote control. At that moment, Xia couldn't speak. She couldn't even make a painful expression or shout. Her mind was blank. She only felt pain somewhere. It was so painful that she wanted to die immediately. That kind of pain seemed to make her disappear at any time. Feng Yu was very satisfied with this result. He had been studying this method since the day he knew that Xia had escaped. In the end, it was very successful. If the other party did not shout, Xiaoguo's throat would not be damaged. If she didn't show any expression of pain, it wouldn't ruin the beauty of Xiaoguo's bright face. If she didn't struggle, it wouldn't hurt other parts of her body. Xia would only feel pain. She didn't want to live anymore. The pain was about to disappear, but she couldn't show it. This was a method that directly attacked her brain waves. It was a good method. Lunatic. Xia thought as she looked at Feng Yu smile through her blurry vision. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.